Hey everyone, Zhiyun have sent me a new gimbal, the Smooth-Q3. Actually, the first gimbal I ever bought was a Smooth-Q, the original Smooth-Q. And then they brought out the Smooth-Q2, which was quite a bit different. Not really my favourite gimbal, to be honest. So now we have the Smooth-Q3. Let's see it. Let's see what it's like. Oh, that was so almost perfect.
Here it is, not too many extras in the box, just the gimbal, a mini tripod, cable, paper manual. Well, this is just the test model from Zhiyun, and I believe it will also ship with a protective bag and a wrist strap as well. Woohoo! As soon as I took it out of the box, I noticed the gimbal is very light in the hand. I would also say this handle is made for small hands. It's okay, but I did notice it as soon as I held it. Next thing I noticed that's a bit different is the way this gimbal doesn't fold. Like the OM3, OM4, Vlog Pocket, Moza Mini and those kind of gimbals. Instead, it extends. Unlock the arm with the screw lock and now slide it until it slips into place. Now tighten the screw lock again. Also, you need to unlock the second motor. There is a bit of balancing that needs to be done first, because if it's not balanced correctly, it will still work, but will consume more battery power and also weaken the motor strength. Well, that's it. Power on and off you go. So we can see we have a joystick, as we would expect, and it is sensitive to how far you push it. So if you push it a little bit, it moves slower. The long red button is the record button. It does have some other features as well, but I'll talk about those later. And then there's a mode button with an indicator to show you which mode the gimbal is in. So that's nice that you don't have to go into the app settings. At the side, we have the usual zoom control. And this doesn't look too smooth, at least on my Samsung S9, but I will try it on my other phones later. One tap of the trigger starts object tracking. 2 taps centers the gimbal, so that's the basic controls. Okay, let's get this thing working. Now there's 6 different modes: pan follow, lock, point of view, vortex and go. I don't think any of these are particularly new, and if you have a Zhiyun gimbal, you probably know these modes already. Now, this is something I haven't seen before. They've put a light on top of the clamp for vlogging. And normally, if we wanted a light, we would have to mount it to the gimbal somehow. To turn the light on, just hold your finger on the top for a couple of seconds, and then you can just tap it to switch between 3 different brightness levels. The temperature of the light is 4,300 kelvins, which is a strong white light, well, basically daylight color. You can also turn the light to face away from you, perhaps if you're filming another subject. The light also helps you to know which way up the clamp goes when you're mounting your phone, because the light is at the top and the camera on your phone to the left. So that makes it a little bit easier to remember.
Okay, so that's without the light. Now that's with the light. That's the lowest strength. That's the highest strength.
With the new SmartFollow 3.0, you just need to aim at the target and then tap the trigger once. The gimbal enters locked mode and the camera locks onto whatever object is in the square. So tap once again to exit SmartFollow and back to pan follow mode. The Smooth-Q3 is quite a bit lighter compared to the Q2. The Q2 is 440 grams, whereas the Q3 is 100 grams less at 340 grams. In terms of weight it can cope with, the Q3 is just a bit better with a max payload of 280 grams compared to 260 grams for the Q2. Now compared to the DJI OM4, the DJI is a bit heavier at 390 grams and has about the same max payload. The DJI says the OM4 can carry up to 290 grams, so that's only 10 grams more. Now, my iPhone 12 Pro Max weighs 230 grams, which is fine, but if I add a case and a lens, that goes up to 312 grams. So that's going to be over the maximum recommended payload. And for that kind of setup, you will be working at the limits of the gimbal's motors. One of the things I didn't like about the Smooth-Q2 was switching from portrait to landscape. It was just really awkward, and to be honest, it didn't really work. On the Smooth-Q3, it's just 3 quick trigger pulls, and it works perfectly. So much better by comparison to the Smooth-Q2. The power up button is on the front of the handle above the trigger. Again, that's also a bit different. Also, the trigger itself is flat, and that's so that the arm can slide down when you want to make it smaller again. It might take a bit of getting used to finding the buttons without turning the gimbal. So power on by holding the power button down for a couple of seconds. Triple tap the trigger to switch from portrait to landscape, as I said. Zhiyun says that many of the advantages of this gimbal are contained within the app, and that's called the ZY Cami app. And they've linked me to a beta version of the app. Different devices may vary, but on my Samsung S9, the app allows me to shoot up to 4K and also up to 60 frames per second, as well as 30 frames per second and 24 frames per second. Other than that, there's not too much manual control. You can set white balance though. The ZY Cami app comes with Smart Mode, which is a series of preset templates. Shoot a few shots and the app will add auto camera movements and then edit it all together with music. Having tested it, this is very much like Story Mode in the DJI Mimo app. Zhiyun says that one big selling point of this gimbal is its advanced app features. So what are they offering? There's AI Live, there's more smart video templates, there's online editing, and a ZY Remo Assistant. And this all comes under what they're calling Prime privileges, and these will require a yearly subscription. Zhiyun says that will be $22.49 in America and €22.49 in Europe. However, at first, they are going to offer 6 months free to those who sign up. So, what are these features? Well, first, there's AI Live, which allows you to use the face tracking feature whilst broadcasting live via your regular social media platforms. There's also online editing, which allows you to use templates to quickly cut your shots together. You're aiming this for TikTokers, Instagrammers, vloggers, and the like, so this is all about delivering fun and exciting content, but in a fast and convenient way. Actually, many of these things come with the app free. There are just a few features, where you see this crown symbol, which are part of the premium package.
So before I go on, just a little update. So at the time of making this video, some of the app features are not quite working as they should, and also the Remo app, which is short for remote, isn't ready yet, so they have decided to delay the launch of that app. But still, I'm going to show you how far I've managed to get it to work so far, but don't take this as the fully functioning app. It's really just a work in progress.
ZY Remo Assistant allows you to use a second phone plus the ZY Remo app to remotely control and monitor your device and the gimbal. This is a bit like the Filmic remote, so if you have a second device, it could be quite useful. And this will allow you to use a second device to change modes, set time lapses, zoom, start, stop, record, and so on. Again, this is very useful for vlogging when most of us are filming alone. I tested it using my two Samsung devices, using the S9 to control the Note 20 Ultra. There's not too many options. On Android at least, there are 3 options. You have a record button, front to back camera switch, and if you tap the screen and drag, you can control the joystick remotely. So at the moment, there's not too many options. So I presume that the other features that they're talking about will come later. I also tested it by controlling my iPhone with my iPad, and it turns out the features are pretty identical. You can see they're really aiming at vloggers, giving you more options for solo filmmaking. The main difference between the ZY Cami app on an iPhone compared to my Samsung is that you can adjust ISO and shutter speed using the manual mode. There's also a 25 frames per second option when selecting frame rate. On iPhone, the ZY Cami app allows you to set very slow shutter speeds, as slow as half a second. And this is useful when shooting hyperlapse videos if you want the motion blur hyperlapse. So any movement like cars, for example, creates a dramatic blur effect. And this can really look quite cool.
initial thoughts on the Zhiyun Smooth-Q3. So I'd say it's like a solid competitor in the fold-up vlogging gimbal bracket. So it's got a couple of nice little features that I like this slow shutter speed. That's pretty cool for time-lapse and hyperlapse. And also this little light saves you having to buy a light if you're vlogging and you just want to put together like a little B-roll sequence. Some of those little editing options are pretty cool. Yeah, what do you think? Is it going to tempt you into getting a fold-up vlogger gimbal? Let us know in the comments. So that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!